Matthew Bell with Alzheimer'sProof.com, and today I'm going to show you a little hack that I used in order to help prevent my dad from eloping. No, we're not talking about absconding somewhere and getting married illicitly. We are talking here about having a person with a cognitive impairment, for example, Alzheimer's disease, who is in a care environment and then who exits the care environment, leaves that care environment without notice, without authorization, permission, without any kind of oversight. It can be a very dangerous situation for a person, obviously, because in an environment that isn't controlled, there can be any number of things that they might be able to hurt themselves with, hurt somebody else with, due to inattention or loss of focus, or any number of things can go wrong. So the objective in keeping a person in a care environment is to do right by them. It's not to keep them and undercut their autonomy or their freedoms. Unfortunately, the Alzheimer's disease or other cognitive impairment or dementia has fairly well undercut those freedoms itself. But the objective here is to try to maintain some kind of safety in the home environment or in a care environment. What I'm going to show you in this video is one way that I was able to put in a level of restriction that didn't cost me anything to do. It did give me a couple of odd looks from people who approached the house, and I'll explain why that is in just a minute. I'm here outside the door of the house that my dad actually lived in, the house that I actually cared for him in. And what I want to draw your attention to here is basically the door lock configuration that's on the storm door or the screen door. So this is just a normal storm door, and you can see the glass on the door. Obviously the keyhole is facing the outside, which is the normal thing you would expect on a storm door. Therefore, if this door is locked, a person who's outside the house could not just open the door. Now, it's not locked presently. On the inside of the door hardware, you can see the little turn that causes the deadbolt basically to protrude, and that causes the storm door, to be locked. Now, the storm door is only of limited effectiveness, obviously. I mean, there's a screen here. You can see, in our case, the screen's got a hole in it. It's in disrepair. This is not the point of the video. The point is simply that in the case of this door, this is an ancillary door. It was not used for security purposes. It's a storm door, so it's a bit for heating and cooling. If you drop the storm window, you can open the thing and get a breeze in the summer or in the springtime or whatever. And so that's what this is for. One intervention that I was able to perform was to literally reverse the door lock hardware. What that enabled me to do when I reversed the door lock hardware was to position the thumb turn on the outside, position the key lock on the inside, and that prevented my dad from being able to exit the house easily. This is the main door going to the outside. And of course, just like a normal door, right? You've got a deadbolt, you've got a main door lock here, but they're designed to be easily opened, unlocked from the inside. They're not designed to prevent a person with dementia from exiting the house, or a person with cognitive deficit. And so if you've got child-proofing needs, because this can work for a small child, or it could work for an older adult, more important for an older adult, because the older adult is more likely to be able to defeat other kinds of intervention. For child-proofing, they make little cup things that fit over the door, so that the child can't easily get enough of a grip on the doorknob to turn it. There's a lot of different interventions, and I'm not saying those are not without their merit, even in an application like this. In an Alzheimer's application, none of the interventions is designed to be foolproof. They're simply designed to be a deterrent. They're designed to give you additional time so that you can get to the situation and address the situation if your attention happened to be turned. What we ran into in our case was my dad. He would just turn the door lock, open the doorknob, and he would be out the door. He would be able to elope, or just essentially leave the care environment, and sometimes we didn't know where he was. And so basically what I did was reverse the lock on the storm door, and I'm going to show you how to do that presently. For this intervention, I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, so I don't have any instruction manual. I can give you a printed list, and I'll put up an article on Alzheimer'sProof.com kind of running through the steps. But some of the tools, I'm going to use a drill with a Phillips drill bit on the end. You could use a hand tool. You could use just a regular number 2 Phillips screwdriver. For my application, I'm also going to need these Allen wrenches, and for the exact sizing of them, this right here is the standard size. I probably need to grab the metric actually, but your application might differ. Every storm door is going to be a little bit different, and I can't give you a specific step-by-step instructional guide that's going to match your specific storm door or lock application, but I can say that conceptually this idea is bound to work on more door hardware than just what I'm going to show you here. We have a couple of things I'll point out right from the start. First, there's a screw on the bottom, a screw on the top holding in the plate, and then on the side of the door handle there's actually a recessed area with a hex bolt or a hex screw. We're going to need the hex key in order to get that out. Taking out the first screw here, you can see it. I'm going to kind of pull on the door handle a little bit. The door hardware is starting to come apart. Take out the two screws there. And secondarily, I'm going to remove the hex screw. And you can see tiny little thing there. Safely out of the way, and now the door handle should just pull off, and it does. With the door handle off, we should just be able to pull the door locking hardware panel off, and we are able to. Now you can see it's exposed, and you can see how the handle goes through the door, you can see how the lock goes through the door, and then the two mounting screws with the plate removed. Now essentially on this side, it's just the door hardware that's facing the outside, but with everything removed, there should be nothing except for the door handle simply holding it on. So the only thing holding that on right now is just the little piece on the door. So removing the hex screw on the handle on the outside, I simply pull the handle off, and now we have this exposed plate, which, and I dropped a little washer, but you can see now the little plate is right there. I'm bringing the outside piece of hardware, the one with the lock, I'm going to just simply line this thing up with the little lock, and then this should just press on. Then we can reattach the handle on the inside. Okay, handle's reattached on the inside. And then, of course, the locking plate, we're simply going to position that over this on the outside, position it, and then I'm going to screw it in position. The final step is going to be to reattach the door handle onto the little post. So I just position the door handle back on, and then I'm going to re-tighten with the hex key, like so. Now the door lock has been reversed, so now you can open it, but here's the thing you'll notice is now you can lock the door from the outside. Now the door has to be opened with a key on the inside. So this is the view on the inside. On the inside you can see it has the key cylinder. So this door can now only be opened, locked and unlocked from the inside with a key. So now from the inside, the only way to get out the door if it's locked is with the key. Alright, so here's the key, and you can see that if we're on the inside and we lock the door, okay, you can see on the inside if the door is locked, now the door cannot be exited unless there's a key. Obviously, if the person with Alzheimer's disease or somebody else is going to try and force the door open, we already looked at the fact that on this particular door, you know, the screen is compromised. Somebody could reach in through. Yeah, I mean, this is certainly not foolproof. He could bust out the window. Somebody could bust out the screen, reach around and unlock the door, but that's going to take a higher reasoning level than at least what my dad had. So what we would do is we would lock the door. And if we needed to get out, we had the key, obviously. Key control is obviously an essential component of this. and then you can exit the door. So for instance, if one of us had to leave the house, somebody else might keep my dad distracted, and then that person, as they exit, would simply turn the deadbolt and then prevent this door from being opened without the key on the inside. So it's somewhat unorthodox, I realize, and again, when people would approach the door from the outside, we would get comments of and bewilderment from people who couldn't understand why we would have our door lock reversed, as if we didn't understand how to use a door lock. But obviously key control, as I said, is an essential part of this. In order for it to be successful, you have to obviously, the door locking hardware has to be amenable to it. There may be peculiarities to the way that the door locking hardware functions that might prevent this from working for you. But if it does work for you, you can be aware that this intervention doesn't cost any money. I mean, the door lock already was on the storm door. To just turn it around takes just a little bit of time. And then again, should not be relied upon exclusively to keep your loved ones safe or to keep them in the care environment. You certainly can't lock the door from the outside and then leave the house for 2 hours and expect that everything's going to be okay. Not just for the reason that the door lock might not be 100% able to keep them inside, but also for the other things potentially dangerous inside the house that they might get into. But it can buy you time, and it can certainly be helpful to you, as it was to me in the case of taking care of my dad. I might be able to hear him trying to get out the door, and that might enable me to get to him with enough time to redirect him to some other activity. What I found was that my dad was able to get out through the front door. In a lot of cases, I might be distracted for a few minutes, or he might wake up in the middle of the night. I mean, it's very peculiar, the sleeping habits and other things of people with Alzheimer's disease. Even if you think, all right, well, I'm going to set the alarm for half an hour or an hour before he is known to get up, all bets could be off. One little thing the previous night could waken him or could cause him to get up at a time when it's not normal for him to get up. He's to the front door and he is down the street. We had police officers return him to the house on more than one occasion. In one circumstance, it was actually during a snowstorm where he was found walking along a, not like a highway, but I mean a major arterial road in our community that some driver apparently called the police because they saw him, covered in snow and kind of sliding around on the side. I mean, it could have been really bad. It could have been an accident. He could have been killed or injured. A driver might have been severely traumatized if he'd have stumbled out into the street, whatever the case is. I thank you so much for your time and attention today. If you found something of use, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be alerted to new content as it becomes available. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again in another video.